Updike Show number 18. Today I have a special guest in, Dawn Massabni with her friend Jacqueline Sosa. Dawn started the Don't Shock Me Foundation. Dawn, tell us about the foundation and why the foundation got started.
We started the foundation about a year ago, my son and I, to honor my daughter who died of toxic shock from a tampon. What the foundation tries to do is to go out to different schools, high schools, universities, and organizations to help educate and create awareness on the dangers of tampon use.
So tell us a little bit about how the your daughter unfortunately passed away from toxic shock.
First of all, toxic shock is a multi-systemic disease that kind of ravishes the body very quickly. It's a toxin that goes into your bloodstream, and once it gets in your bloodstream, it flows throughout your body and starts shutting down your organs. It deprives them of oxygen. It resembles the flu or a stomach bug, so a lot of people are misdiagnosed, and I believe 90% of cases haven't even been reported. So the CDC really doesn't have accurate statistics on how prevalent this disease is.
If you're talking to the average teenage girl out there, a high school female, what are some of like the symptoms that they kind of pass off? Go, oh, I have like a stomach ache, or it's just a fever, or something like
Okay,
that. So can we talk about sign symptoms?
sure, they'll be tired and achy. They'll have a diarrhea, vomiting, maybe a slight fever, um, maybe a little bit dizzy because you assume they don't eat when they have the stomach bug
Sure.
because everything is going through them. So a little bit dizzy, and you kind of just feel, as it was described to me, kind of like a wet towel, just achy and just laying around.
Yeah, very flu-like, and I can see how
Very
somebody,
flu-like.
I can see how somebody could kind of just blow it off, right? Like
Yes.
I'm just kind of a
Yes.
little sick, so it's not a big deal.
Right. Right.
What are some of the processes? And because I know starting a foundation isn't easy, so talk a little bit about some of the processes you went through, members of the foundation, and what you guys are doing now to bring awareness to it.
Like I said, we started about a year ago. A friend of mine helped create it. You have to go through the process of the state and the IRS and all that, and it's a 503c.
It is a 503c.
Yes. And we're grateful that he was able to help us do that. And from there, I've had friends who have helped me with getting the word out, with emailing different schools, different organizations. I've met with Congressman Smith, and he was a huge help. He is helping me create policy to better serve, I guess, our kids with making the companies accountable, or at least to have them be responsible and educate as well.
How did that come about that you got, hooked up with a politician? Because I'm sure there's a lot of moms or dads out there that have just worthy causes, right? That want to do something. So how did that work for you that you actually got to meet with the politician? And
Actually, I'm grateful to a friend of ours. She is co-founder of Steffi's Place. It's a grief center, and I go there for once a week for help and to sit with other mothers who've lost their children. And she had lost her husband in 9/11, so she knew him, and she contacted him, and he was wonderful. He came down to this area, sat with me, and talked to me all about it, and wanted to help. He wanted to help, women in their health.
now your daughter was also a college student in Florida, so you're
Yes.
doing some stuff in Florida as well.
Yes, we're trying to do some stuff in Florida. We're trying to hopefully meet with the politicians there and create the same scenario that we have up here. What I mean by that is we have introduced Maddie's Law to the state in June. We're hoping it'll get passed. It's in a committee right now. We're still waiting. I check on it every week. What that law is that it makes it mandatory education from 5th grade up in public schools in health class on toxic shock. So it's not just a bleep saying, okay, toxic shock is dangerous, it's rare, don't worry about it. It's going to be, a class dedicated to really making the girls understand about the disease and how easy it is to catch and what they need to do to protect themselves.
And that's been happening kind of like right now.
Yes.
So we're looking to put it in like a curriculum in the schools.
Yes.
So that's one. Is there some other things out there that you guys are doing to bring awareness?
Also, with that law is creating posters for public restrooms. Staying toxic shock, what the signs and symptoms are, and when to seek medical help, so that it is, brought to your attention every time you're out and about, because kids go out, and
Yeah.
hopefully this will help create awareness and remind them, they have to be careful.
Yeah, when I was talking to Jackie yesterday, obviously you guys were coming in, but I was watching Shark Tank the other night, and one of the people coming in throwing their pitch, she had toxic shock, and she was given a 50-50 chance to live after it, and she was lucky enough to survive it, and she was in the Shark Tank throwing her pitch, and it got bought or whatever, but it is out there, and I think, like I was talking to Jackie, just because we don't talk about it that much, it does happen, and as soon as you, like you said, start bringing it up, we realize that, hey, this is a real problem, and people need to be aware of what it is and what are the signs and symptoms, and here's some things that we're doing so what happened to your daughter doesn't happen to somebody else's daughter out there.
That's right, yes.
You're also speaking with the FDA as well.
Yes, I'm meeting with the FDA in November to go over the regulations they have set forth for the tampon companies to hopefully provide them with more information that they should actually require and request and make them follow.
Yeah.
Because it's very lenient right now.
What are some of the, and once again, how'd you get that meeting?
Through the congressman and a few others,
Right,
networks. I'm very grateful for my network. We've come a long way in a year with, hopefully a law in New Jersey, and hopefully making changes with the FDA. We're hopefully writing a policy for Congressman Smith to bring and present to Congress, hopefully, for the country. A few other things that have been going on is that a few people have contacted me and wrote articles on this, and it has gone everywhere. I've just completed an interview with the UK, and it's traveling across Europe now, which is wonderful. And I've been, people have reached out from different organizations wanting to learn more and help create awareness. This does not have to happen. This is 100% preventable if caught with an antibiotic. What happens is, if you don't catch it right away, it starts breaking your system down, and that's when the 50-50% chance comes in. And there's a line that you cross, and once you cross that line, you go into a coma and you get put on a ventilator and your kidneys shut down. And once that happens, all the other organs start to follow, leaving your lungs, your heart, and your brain to be the last.
With the FDA, you said you're having a meeting with them. What are the things that they do or don't do now, and what are the things that you're trying to get them to do?
Well, I read the regulations, and one thing that bothers me, it says, what is the likelihood of it to be read by the consumer? Now that bothers me because it's an insert inside a box. And when I had spoken at University of Tampa, my question was, how many people know of toxic shock? Only 3 hands went up. Then I asked all of them, how many of you throw away that insert without even reading it? Every hand went up. That's a problem. So the likelihood of someone reading it is, I want to say, 0.
0.
And if they don't read it, how are they going to know? So we need to make them more responsible in following certain guidelines to make it known to the kids what could happen, that they have to read this material. But instead of reading this material, what we'd like to do is have on the inside of the box when you open it all the signs and symptoms, so that every time they use a tampon, they see the signs and symptoms, and they're in their head.
Conscious of it.
Yeah, all the time.
Sure.
And if by chance this should happen to them, that they go to the doctor and they self-advocate for themselves, saying, no, it's not the flu. Listen, I just used a tampon a week ago, and now all these signs and symptoms are coming up. I want to be checked. I want to be tested.
Is there a
that
test
will
for
save
it?
their lives.
Is there a test
They do
for it?
blood work and everything. That'll help. And what they'll do then, just knowing that, is put them on the right antibiotic to prevent. And that's what the emergency rooms need to know, and the doctors. I'm trying to find a hospital to work with that will hear us about the emergency room intake forms. It says, it'll ask every woman, when was your last period? And you answer that. But how about we add 2 more questions? Not only when was your last period, when is the last time you used a tampon? And have these symptoms started since the use of that tampon? That takes you into a whole nother diagnosis and avenue to check in order to help, take care of them.
Sure. So since this has all happened, you guys started the foundation. Jackie's on it. Your son's on it. Talk a little bit about, I know you're meeting with the congressman, you're meeting with the FDA. Talk a little bit about what you guys have done to organize the foundation and what you're doing inside the foundation.
Well, basically, it's small right now. We're growing. We're getting a board
Sure.
together. And when we create the board, then there'll be someone to do the accounting, some legal, someone to create a database of people who contact us that had toxic shock so we can show them that it's prevalent. Someone else to get back on the emails so that we can schedule speaking engagements and go educate everywhere we can.
Yeah.
So that's what we're starting with, and we're starting to get the help now, and it's coming on board, which is I'm really grateful for.
Jack, Maddie was obviously a friend of yours from college, and Mom asked you to be on board on the foundation. What's your role, and how do you kind of help out with the foundation?
Well, so far, I'd say I'm kind of spreading the awareness in Florida. I'm working with my sorority to do a volleyball, some sort of tournament thing for the foundation because
Like a
Maddie,
fundraiser.
yeah, a fundraiser. Maddie loved like volleyball. You said right, so she loves anything with the beach. So we have a beach volleyball at our school. So we're hoping to do that. So I guess I would say that I'm the awareness chair, and I'm kind of working on spreading that awareness in Florida, like with my like peers.
Yeah, and
in a
helping us
sense.
raise some money for the foundation
Yeah.
so we can do some things.
Mhm.
I just want to talk about just the box really quick so
Sure.
everybody can understand.
Sure.
I brought one. Okay, so you have the box, and inside, as you can see, the insert's all the way down here hidden, and no one really pays attention to it. What we're trying to do is get all the signs and symptoms put here so that they're conscious of it all the time and every time they use a tampon. Also on the box, you'll see it says tampons are associated with. Tampons can definitely, absolutely cause toxic shock. I think the wording should be a little different. I also think it shouldn't say attention. I think it should say warning. I think it should be in big, bold letters so that it catches their eye so they read it. Because something like this, I'm sorry, a teenager or a young woman is not going to read it. They're just going to push it aside because everyone believes a health product you use is safe. You have no worries.
Sure.
Also on here, as you can see, on the side, it says attention, and it talks about tampons are associated again with toxic shock. Attention. Attention. No. Warning. Big, huge
And in red.
letters.
Should
You
be in
know,
red.
with nothing else written below it, just where it stands out so that these girls can help themselves. I just believe if we do that, that would really benefit. I know if we had that on the box, my daughter would be here today because I would have seen it over and over again. My daughter would have seen it over and over again. She would have said, Mom, listen, you know what? I'm using tampons. Now I'm starting to feel like this. I think I need to see the doctor right away. So that's why we're trying to change this. We're trying to make them a little bit more accountable, make them be proactive. Proactive in their, oh my gosh, TV ads where you see they're running around having a great time and everyone's happy. They're print ads. I didn't bring them. But if you see them, it has not even a single warning. It does not even mention toxic shock or anything. What I would like to see is have it the same warnings as alcohol and drugs, cigarettes. This way, we're doing all we can to help save lives. Madeline saved 4 lives already that we know of, and that's just us. So I can't imagine the amount of lives she saved just with the story out there.
Yeah, and that's our ultimate goal of foundation.
Yeah,
Right?
and I mean, and everywhere we go, my son and I run into people all the time. Oh, I had toxic shock. Oh, I had toxic shock. If that many people I'm running into have had toxic shock, multiply that by the millions.
Yeah, sure.
It's not rare. It's not rare at all.
And it's probably not something people want to talk about, right?
No, in our own doctor's office, one of the receptionists stopped me and she said, I had toxic shock. It's right there in your own back door.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to hear Maddy's story.
Yeah, we want to hear Maddie's story. That's why we have
It's
you
a
here.
little emotional, but I think that it might be beneficial to parents and young women using tampons so they understand how quickly at the signs and symptoms. It was Madeline's 19th birthday. She was home for her birthday. And as a tradition, we go out for our birthdays, and the birthday person picks where they want to go. She had mentioned to me she wasn't feeling good, and I'm like, well, we'll stay home, Mad. We'll go another day. And she goes, no, I really want to go out. So we went out, and she just wasn't right and got home, and she got sick to her stomach. So she rested that night, and the next day she still felt horrible. She was getting sick to her stomach, diarrhea. She had a little fever. She was sipping on juice. And, we thought it's the stomach bug. We all thought it was the stomach bug. And I was like, if you're not better by tomorrow, we're going to see the doctor first thing. moms usually wait 24 hours if it's a bug.
Yeah.
So the day went on, you know, and I really didn't check on her all that much. She's 19, you know. But she, at nighttime, got very sick and, you know, had another bout of diarrhea and everything, and said she was dizzy. And we got her to bed. And I said, okay, we're going first thing in the morning, okay? And she's like, Mommy, I really don't feel good. And I said, I know, I understand. I did not know that just those signs and symptoms led to or were toxic shock. The next morning, I let her sleep in because my girl loves to sleep. And I went to wake her up, and I had a very hard time waking her up. And I had to ask her, Maddie, it's Mommy. Do you recognize me? Do you recognize me? And she couldn't speak to me, so I got her up. She really couldn't move, so I called 911. And she was having a seizure, and I didn't recognize it as a seizure. And she tried to say something to me, and she looked at me, and with her amazing, big, beautiful eyes, and then they closed. And I just was yelling to her, please, please don't leave me. I love you. Don't leave me. What's wrong? And by the time they got there, she had died in my arms at home. They revived her a few times. They got her to the hospital. But because she was without oxygen, she lost brain function. She was in a coma. And she was put on a ventilator. And she kept crashing through the night. And the next day, we had to make the decision because she would never be herself. She wasn't the same happy, lovely, beautiful person because her brain wasn't functioning. And we had to make a decision and turn off the ventilator and say goodbye to her. And it took 36 hours from the moment she got sick to the moment she passed away. And every single thing she had resembled the stomach bug or the flu. Had I even known any of the signs and symptoms or aware of toxic shock, I would have taken her that Monday if I had known. You know, it was with the tampons. She was really good. She was changing everything. It was not like she left it in long. She did not leave it in long. I've had people contact me. A 14-year-old used it for the first time and died. A dad's daughter used it for 2 hours and died. So I don't think it's a matter of how long. I think it's a matter of what's going on in your system. And the tampon holding the bacteria and then breaking down and getting into your bloodstream. I think we need to focus on that and make everyone aware in order to prevent this, because like I said, it's 100% preventable. And she really should be here today with us. She'd be 21 now.
Should. You're right, she should.
Yeah.
Dawn, thank you so much for coming in today and sharing your story.
You're
Really
very welcome.
appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
This is Maddie, by the way. So I'd like to bring a picture everywhere I go,
Sure.
so people get to see her and how happy she was.
Yeah,
She was full of life, loved life, was happy about everything, loved the beach,
Yeah.
made friends everywhere she went, you know, and just was always there for everyone. And it's very hard living every day without her.
Of course.
We
Couldn't
miss her
imagine.
very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.